nanach, nachma, nachman, meuman. Moharan, lesson 9, the Rebbe's own words, they were covered by D-heaps. Nanach, nachma, nachman, meuman, they sank to the bottom like a rock. The life force is attained, the life force is attained mainly from prayer. As the verse says, pray to God, prayer to God is my life. For this reason, one must pray with all one's effort, for when one prays with all one's effort and puts all one's energy into the letters of the prayer, one's energy is renewed there as in renewed each morning. Great is your faith. Fullness, for faith is prayer, as in his hands were faith. As the Targum translates, his hands were spread in prayer. I too, but know the 12 tribes, the 12 tribes parallel, the 12 astrological signs, Tikkunei Zohar, each tribe having a specific prayer liturgy and a specific gate through which its prayers must pass. Furthermore, each tribe arouses the power of the specific sign of the 12 signs with which it is connected, and that sign, Mazel, constellation, and that sign shines down and nurtures the growth of vegetation and other things that depend upon it. This is the meaning of a star shall come forth from Jacob, and a tribe shall rise from Israel. Your eyes alludes to the midah, the standing prayer, meaning that when a tribe stands up to pray, it arouses a star, which then comes forth and strikes things to make them grow. As the sages say, there is no grass on earth that has no star and angel above that strikes it and tells it, grow. This is what our sages meant by attaining one's sustenance is as difficult as the splitting of the Red Sea, and finding one's marital match is as difficult as the splitting of the Red Sea. This is because the sea was split into 12 lanes, each lane for a specific tribe. Now the Jewish people cause a unification of God with the divine presence. As the verse says, exalt the one who rides above the aravois. The one who rides refers to God, and aravois refers to the divine presence in which all the different spiritual energies intermingle. Misareyiv, hence according to the unification that one causes with one's prayer, so does one find one's own match. And since there are 12 different prayer liturgies, therefore finding one's match is like the splitting of the Red Sea, which split into 12 lanes. Also the Jewish people sustain their Father in heaven with their prayers, as the verse says, Vayamideho, he made the Amidah for Jacob as a statute. Statute refers to sustenance, and the Amidah always refers to prayer, and they kept his testimonies, and he gave them sustenance. Testimony meaning prayer, as in the tribes of God are a testimony to praise God's name. And the sages said, testimony is always made while standing, and standing refers to prayer. In that we testify to his oneness, thus the degree to which one sustains one's Father in heaven is the amount of sustenance that one will be given. That is why attaining one's sustenance is as difficult as the splitting of the Red Sea, since sustenance travels along 12 pathways as per the 12 tribes of God. Oh, but great merit is needed for one's prayer to ascend through the gate appropriate for one's tribe. This is what Abba ben Yamin said, I have gone to pains throughout my life to see two things, that my prayer be near my mitzvah bed, meaning that his prayer should go through the pathway of his Mate tribe. Oh, he says there are 12 tribes, each one having a specific gate, and he prayed that his prayer should not veer from the pathway of his tribe. The word Mate itself alludes to marital union. Oh yeah, in the concluding. The word mitzvah itself alludes to marital union, as in the concluding part of the teaching that my mitzvah bed should be placed, etc. A bed symbolizing the marital union. Represents sustenance, as in I will cut off your mata supply of bread for the 12 tribes of wives, mahat, bring about union and sustenance. As said above, that one's marital match and sustenance are as difficult as the splitting of the Red Sea. He also prayed that his tribe should merit its tables, as he said that my mita should be placed between north and south, alluding to the teaching of our sages. One who wants to become wise should face the south, and that one who wants to become wealthy should face the north. Now Jacob embodied all the 12 tribes, and he knew the root of each individual tribe. For this reason, it was said about him, Jacob gathered in his feet to the mitzvah. Represents prayer. As the verse says, righteousness, prayer will walk ahead of him, meaning that Jacob gathered all his prayers, each one to its root. Also had the power to bestow a portion of the world to Joseph, as the verse says, I hereby give you Shechem, an extra portion over your brothers. This was because his prayer drew life force into all the three parts of the world, the lower world, the celestial world, and the angelic world. The lower world, the celestial world, the world of stars. And the angelic world. This is alluded to in the acronym of Shechem, Shafel, Eloi, Oilo, Koichav, star, and Malach, angel, for that is what he had saying through his prayer. As the verse concludes, that I took my prayer and supplication 3, but when a person stands up to pray, foreign thoughts and klippas come and surround him, leaving him in the dark and unable to pray. As is written, you cover yourself with a cloud to prevent prayer passing through. And another verse says, the wicked go around, meaning that the wicked, the klipos, surround a person when the sublime is debased. That is during prayer, which stands at the peak of the world. Oh, but no, there are many doorways in the darkness through which one can leave it. As the sages say, if one seeks to defile oneself, they will open up for him, implying that there are many doorways. And these many doorways in the darkness are also to leave it. When a person is blind, it does not know how to find the doorway, but know with truth. One merits finding the doorway. This is because the essence of the light that shines is God, as the verse says, God is my light and my help. On the other hand, with falsehood, one banishes God. As the verse says, do not take up God's name falsely. For falsehood banishes God, since a speaker of falsehood cannot stay in my presence. With truth, though God dwells with a person, as the verse says, God is close to all who call him, truthfully. Double was when God is with a person. He shines a light on the way to get out of the darkness that disturbs his prayer. As in, God is my love of the years. Make a soihar for the table ark word, upon which Rashi comments. Some say soihar is a window, and others say a luminous stone. The difference between a window and a luminous stone is that a window has no light of its own, but only allows light to pass through it. And if there is no light, it does not radiate. A luminous stone, though, radiates its own light, even when there is no external source of light. Nanach, nachman, meuman. Similarly, there are people whose speech is a window and cannot even enlighten themselves. This is, some say, speech that is a window, and others say speech that is a luminous stone and radiates light. And know that it is all dependent upon the degree of one's truth. For the essence of light is God, and God is the essence of truth, and God's main longing is only for the truth. This is to an omaaiiinnn, Tichaleno, bring the ark to a close at the top, in which Tichaleno has the meaning of David's soul. David's soul, David's soul, Vatachal. David's soul longed. Refers to the Hey. 5 ways in which letters are articulated, ways that consist of Aish, fire, and Mayim, water. That is, see to it that your speech emerges from your mouth with truth, and then God will long to dwell with you, and when He dwells with you, He will shine for you. This is omaaiiinnn, which forms the acronym of emes, truth, for with truth. God desires from above to dwell with this person, as the verse says. God is close to all those who call him, etc. Then the door of the table, make me see, bezH at its side, meaning that when a table word is articulated truthfully, the table word will make a door, and the darkness in which you are trapped, and this is bezH. alluding to the klipa that is tzahad that traps prey, as in for there was sayid in his mouth. Thus initially a person is unable to speak due to the darkness that surrounds him, but by emerging from the darkness and praying properly, one rectifies the lower levels of the yark, the middle levels and the upper levels, alluding to the lower world, the celestial world, and the world of intellect. But it is impossible to pray without Torah study, for the ignoramus cannot be pious, and one who turns away his ear from hearing Torah, his prayer is an abomination from the manuscript of other followers. And every individual must bind his prayer to the tzaddik of the generation. Nanach, nachman, nachman, meuman. This tzaddik knows how to have intention for the various gates and to elevate each and every prayer to its appropriate gate for each and every tzaddik, as an aspect of Moses' Messiah, as the sages said to each other, Moses, you have spoken well. Have you spoken well? Furthermore, as the verse says, until Shiloh, that is, the Messiah will arrive. Who is Moses now? The Messiah is comprised of all the prayers, which is why the Messiah will be able to judge by smell, since prayers are an aspect of the nose, as the verse says, it is my praise to draw out my breath for you. This is the meaning of what Rabbi Baruch Chana said. I was once traveling in the desert, accompanied by this soicher Ishmaelite merchant, who would pick up earth, smell it, and say, this path to here and this path to there. I asked him, how far away from water? Give me some earth, he said. I gave him, and he said, 9 parsa, 10.5 kilometers. I gave him again different earth, and he said, 3 parsa, 3.5 kilometers. I switched them around, but wasn't able. I switched them around, but wasn't able to fool him. I switched them around, but wasn't able to fool him. I was once accompanied by this Ishmaelite merchant. An Ishmaelite merchant represents the tzaddik of the generation. Nach, nachman, nachman, meuman, who embodies all the prayers. Like the Messiah, since prayers are an aspect of an Ishmaelite soicher, as in for God, Shema your affliction, translate he did. By the Targum, as God has heard your prayer. The Targum of surround is schoir, and hence soicher is an allusion to faith prayer. As in your face surrounds you, we were accompanied by this Ishmaelite merchant. Thus means that we bound ourselves to the tzaddik of the generation, who is an aspect of the Messiah, the totality of prayer. Nach, nachma, you would pick up nachma, meuman, you would pick up earth, smell it, and say, this path to here and this path to there. Earth corresponds to prayer, as in he will make them into earth with his sword. Sensei sword corresponds to prayer, as in with my sword and my bow. Genesis, Rashi there, and he smelled it because he possessed this power of smelling, since he embodied all prayers. As we see from the verse that prayer is connected with breath, it is my praise to draw out my breath for you. And he was thus able to say, this path to here, because he knew the gates of prayer, and knew to which tribe each prayer belonged. I asked him, how far away from water? Give me some earth, he said. I gave him, and he said, 8 kilometers, 10. And I did a second time, I gave him different earth, and he said 3 kilometers. I switched them around, but wasn't able to fool him. How far are we from water means, how far are we from the concept of pour out your heart before God like water. 8 is an allusion to Torah study, which is the 5 books of the Torah and the 3 prayers. Taneinon is Aramaic for learning, meaning that after learning I asked him again to smell how far we are from the above concept of prayer of water. The 3 kilometers, he said, refers to the 3 aspects of prayer. He gave us a criterion to prove that we had not yet reached the level of prayer with such devotion of pouring out our hearts to God like water. The proof was, I switched them around, as in he turned back the blade of his sword and did not hold him up during battle. For all prayers are an aspect of a sword for the Messiah. Thus, the prayers had been at the above level of water, God would certainly not have turned back, switched the blade of the Messiah's sword. This is proof that we had not reached the level of pour out your heart before God like water. 5. Now prayer is an aspect of miracles. Since it is supernatural, nature may dictate something, but prayer changes nature and the essence of miracles. The essence of prayer is only in the land of Israel, as in dwell in the land and nurture faith. And faith is prayer, as in his hands were faith. As the Targum translates, to mean prayer. For this reason, the land of Israel is higher than all other lands, since miracles, nisim, are mainly there, as is written regarding the return to Zion, raise up a nes, a banner. And for this reason, the land of Israel is called the land of Canaan, since the word Canaan can also mean a soicher, a merchant, which corresponds to faith, as the verse says, your face surrounds you. This is what our sages meant by the land of Israel is quenched first. The rain comes from the deep time, as the verse says, deep time calls to deep. Time is an allusion to miracles, as in the entire city was tehoim, amazed. For over a miracle, that is something unique. People are amazed. And this is why our sages said that the sound of the dove is heard in our land. Refers to rain because the essence of rain is heard in the land of Israel, wherein is the deep, that is, miracles, faith, and prayer. But God created for everything its opposite, and the opposite of the land of Israel is Egypt, its complete contradistinction. As the verse says, the Egyptians, nasim, as they confronted it. That is, Egypt confronts in the sense of opposes. The land of Israel opposes nisim, miracles. For this reason, Egypt is not an appropriate place of prayer. As the verse says, when I leave the city, I will spread out my hands in prayer. Hence, when God promised the land of Israel to Abraham as an inheritance, and Abraham caused spiritual damage to the land by questioning, how will I know? This caused our ancestors to have to descend into Egypt. This was because he had damaged faith. Which is the land of Israel, representing miracles. So Jacob and his sons had to descend into Egypt, which is the opposite of miracles, and a complete contradistinction. And specifically, Jacob and his sons' descendants, since Abraham had damaged the land of Israel, which corresponds to prayer, and Jacob and his sons descended because they correspond to the 12 gates of prayer. Furthermore, because the essence of prayer is Jacob and his sons, as said, therefore, specifically Jacob and his sons merited the land of Israel, which corresponds to prayer, as the verse says, for from Isaac shall be called your seed, upon which the sages comment from Isaac, and not the halvai of Isaac. This is what our sages meant by rain only falls on account of Amana, that is, on account of the land of Israel, which corresponds to prayer, to emunah, faith. Thus the land of Israel is quenched first, because that is the place of the tehoim, the deep of miracles, as in the entire city was tehoim. And this is what our sages meant by when rains fall. Even a pruta, penny in the keys, purses blast. A pruta is an aspect of the sound of the dove, a torah. As the sages said, the angel in charge of rain, reserve of ambos, a torah, whose lips are preterm, are split open, and it stands between the upper deep and the lower deep, since it is comprised of both deeps, that is the totality of miracles. Thus a prut in the keys means that sometimes the power of miracles, angel of rain, prita, is hidden, nis kavavase. But when rain comes, the prut, these miracles are blessed, since its lips are prita, split open. But people who deny miracles and say that everything is within the laws of nature, and if they witness a miracle, will conceal it within the nature of nature, within the laws of nature, by saying that it was a natural event. These people cause spiritual damage to prayer, for prayer is supernatural, in that it can alter nature, because spiritual damage to faith cause spiritual damage to faith, in that they do not believe in divine providence and cause spiritual damage to the land of Israel, which is the place of miracles. As the verse says, the sound of the dove is heard in our land, and as the sages said, the land of Israel is quenched first, for that is the place of the deeps, tehoimos, the place of miracles, as in the entire city was amazed, tehoim. On account of this, one inevitably falls into exile in Egypt, for everything has its opposite, and all exiles are referred to as Mitzrayim, Egypt, because they Mitzrayim afflict the Jewish people. This then is the meaning of time. Yichas miracles conceals Literally, they cover the deeps. Anyone who mechase conceals timeless miracles and tries to show how everything is within the laws of nature will sink to the mitzvahs bottoms, like in Evan, a rock is in. From there is the shepherd, the Evan, rock of Israel, which the Targum translates as of and ben, father and son. Hence, mitzvahs alludes to I have mitzvahs alludes to Egypt, as in they Yinatzlu emptied Egypt. They Yinatzlu emptied Egypt like an Evan of and Ben. A reference to Jacob and his sons. A reference to Jacob and his sons, who correspond to prayer, to miracles of the land of Israel. However deep is the spiritual descent, the spiritual damage to prayer, to faith, to the land of Israel, so must one descend into the exile of Egypt, just as Jacob and his sons descended to Egypt, because Abraham questioned the inheritance of the land by asking, how will I know less than 10? And these are the laws that you shall set before them when, God forbid, there are divine judgments against the Jewish people. Dancing and clapping and hand clapping can bring about an amelioration of the judgments. Nanach, nachma, nanach, nachma.